So I'm sitting here, I'm Ervin Bullock, and I'm with Compassionate St. Augustine, and I'm sitting here with Sawsan, who is a new friend, Palestinian friend that I just met a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I've asked Sawsan to share something of her story and how she happens to be here, but mainly, first of all, what happened with her family and where they have moved to. Can you tell us a little bit, Sawsan, about your family story?
Sure, Ervin. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Sawsan, and I was born in Lebanon for Palestinian parents. My late dad was born in a village called Jab near Akka, and in 1931. And my mom was born in the same village in 1940.
So is Akka in the northern part?
Yes, that's in the Galilee area.
Right, okay.
So both of them were relatives, but not close relatives. Both of them were born there. In 1948, my mom was 8 years old, and my dad was 16 years old.
8 and 16.
About 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the occupation had started, they were evacuated from where they lived, in the village where they lived. Of course, at that time they were kids, they didn't know each other.
Yeah.
My mom used to live with her family in their house, and they were forced to leave their house. Their house was confiscated, and so did their land. And they were like moving from one village to another. And every time they go somewhere, the Israeli forces, they were following them until they found themselves pushed up to the very north, where they were almost on the borders of Lebanon.
Okay. I just wonder, I've often heard that families would take the key to their house. Did your family do that?
Yes.
Do they?
Yes. I haven't seen any of that with my own parents, but I remember that my dad mentioned that to us, and he said that my grandfather, from my father's side, he used to have the keys, like the huge keys, for their old home where they were expelled from as well. They were forced to leave. He kept them for like more than 50 years. Like when my dad told us about it, they said that it's somewhere with some of the uncles. It's still there with some of the uncles. So yeah, it's
and
true.
that was a sense that someday we will go back to our home.
Yes. Like one thing that the Palestinian people never lost is the hope of going back.
Right. Well, how did you happen to be born? Because I know you were born in Lebanon.
Yes.
How did that happen?
Well, as I told you, that my mom fled to Lebanon with her family when she was 8 years old. And my dad, he was a teenager in 1948, so the teenagers were chased because they were, worried about them resisting to leave and stuff like that. So he fled as well to Lebanon. So they lived separate. They didn't know each other, actually. They didn't met before that.
Yeah.
And my mom stayed with her family. She always wanted to go to school, but because of the difficult situation as refugees, she had to give up going to school to stay with her family and help her mom to raise up the other kids. My mom was the eldest one. So they were displaced. They became poor. They didn't have much, to tell the truth. They were depending on the UN aids. So they were doing everything. They were baking bread. They were doing everything from scratch. They were fetching water from like far distance and stuff like that. So my mom had to stay with her mom to help her raising up the other kids and serving the family. She was with her parents for 8 years, and while my dad was getting some technical training to become a welder. So 8 years later, they met through my grandfather from my mom's side, who was at like a traditional coffee shop having coffee. And one time my dad came over and everybody was cheering to my dad and mentioning his name. And then he was like, I know this name. And then he asked him to come over and sit with him. And then he found out that they were relatives. So at that time, my dad was about 24 years old. And then my grandfather asked him if he was married. And then he said no. And then he said, why not? Because I don't have money, I'm poor, still trying to make it. And then he said, would you want to get married? And then he said, if I have the money, he said, we don't care about money. We have a wife for you. This is how it used to be, as simple as that. And then he invited him to come over and to see my mom, and they got married, and then they had all of us.
How many siblings do you have?
We're 9 kids, including me. Wow. So I have 8 siblings.
Yeah.
The Palestinians, till now, they like to have a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm number 8.
Wow. So what brought you to the U.S., Sawsan?
I came with my husband.
Okay.
Who had his education in the United States, and he worked in the United States as well, and he became an American citizen. He got his PhD and everything. So
what does your husband do?
He's a math professor. He's got his PhD in mathematics.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you got degrees. What do you do?
I have a PhD in educational management and leadership.
Okay.
I worked for so many years in education. I was a college professor. I did, I taught business studies and stuff. Then after I finished my PhD, after we came together to the States to stay here and start a family, my husband and I. So I thought that I wanted to take care of the kids at that time. And he was so busy at work, then I thought, okay, I'll go back to school. And this is when I earned my degree.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Okay. What brought you to St. Augustine?
The warmth.
Yeah, okay.
We lived in Chicago, we lived in Pittsburgh, and they were like freezing cold.
Okay.
Especially me, because my husband lived in the States before I joined him, so he lived in Ohio and some other places where it's snowy, so he could take the cold weather, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was always sick, and I had so many other stuff. So I always wanted him to look for a job in a different place. So this is when he started to apply, and we moved to Florida.
So what has been your experience in the U.S.?
It's been a great experience, Ervin. I think I told you about that before. I have so many beautiful friends, American friends from all faiths, and they're always interested to know more about me when they get to learn that I have this background of being born somewhere, but I have ancestors in a different part of the world, and then I came to the States. They are always interested and curious to know more about my background.
Yeah. Well, I know that somebody taught you how to cook because you served me some delicious za'atar pies.
Yes,
so was that in your family, some of the traditional Palestinian foods?
Yes, Ervin. We had like a family ritual. It was since I was little that we have like a little gathering every single day in the family. It was my mom, my dad, my siblings, and I. We sit together between 5 and 6 p.m. We all talk about like what we did during the day and stuff like that. And we have like a snack and a drink. Usually it's tea with sage. We call it maramiya in Arabic, in our Palestinian dialect. And so we grew up eating the za'atar fataya, the za'atar pies, drinking the sage tea, the maramiya tea. I remember that I was never introduced to like different kinds of food till the age of 15 or 16. I always ate Palestinian food. And this is all what my family made sure that we know. We love olive oil, we love olives, we love za'atar, we love sage. And my parents were always telling us during those family gatherings about our traditions, about how beneficial the olive oil and the sage for and healthy for like for the health. And we always loved the Palestinian food, the Palestinian traditions. We grew up on those beautiful traditions.
Yeah. You mentioned that your mother had to help her mother, was it, with the take care of the children. So did your grandmother have to come, was she by herself with the children? How did it happen that your mother was helping? Did your grandfather come too at that time?
Of course, yeah. My grandfather was there, but they became displaced, they became refugees, they became poor, although they weren't poor back in Palestine.
Yeah.
They had the land, they were growing like wheat and sesame, and they had a living. They built a beautiful house as well, but unfortunately, they lived for 1 year and a half before they were forced to leave that beautiful house. So yes, my grandfather was there, but he was trying to make a living because they didn't want to stay in a refugee camp for all their lives.
Yeah.
And this is when he started like a grocery store, and he was working there. And when you have your own business, although it was like a tiny business, but he had to work there. Like 24/7 to make a living for the family. Then my grandmother was all with the 6 kids, so she needed my mom to help. It was a big sacrifice because my mom is so smart, but unfortunately she couldn't get the education that she wanted because she had like a priority at that time.
So I just wonder, what would you most like people to know about Palestinian people, or what's happened, or what would you like, maybe even about Muslims, because all of this is, to a lot of us, it's unknown. It's like a mystery.
Ervin, Palestinian people are beautiful people. They love life. They love people. I don't know if you have met Palestinians before, but I know that a lot of Palestinians, everywhere they go, they're successful people. They're very well educated. They give good impression about themselves. They have they have hopes. They have goals in life. They really like to have a good life. Wherever they go, they like to build and construct and establish. They love life. And I think they deserve to have peace, and they deserve to have rights as well, just like any other person in the world. They have a very rich culture, and they like to spread this culture everywhere. So,
So we're in a very difficult time with Gaza and Israel, and I just wonder if you have a sense, what are your hopes? What do you hope we can somehow get to here?
Well, my biggest hope, Ervin, is to see peace. And I never talk to anybody who's from Palestine who doesn't have that. They all share this common goal, that they would love to see peace. They would love to live in peace. They would love to be given rights just like any other nation in the world. So they can take care of their land and raise up their kids and give them good life and give them hope. That if people don't have hope, they wouldn't think about peace. So this is what I'm hoping.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being willing to sit here and share your story with us, Sawsan.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.